Hey guys, what's going on? It's 2 Minutes to Review. I'm Matt.
I'm Zach.
And if you haven't joined us for one of these podcasts before, we do some album reviews, and the longest album review in under 2 minutes wins.
That's right. This time we're reviewing the 8th studio album from Muse, Simulation Theory. It's been doing pretty well. Muse has always been a relatively reliable act. We were actually just talking about this before. It's kind of hard to believe that this is the 8th studio album from the band. And that's not even if you consider EPs and soundtracks that they've done. So they're the band that we kind of take for granted.
I would agree to that.
Yeah.
Especially where we are in the country, not too many places actually play Muse on the radio.
Definitely not. I would say that even before, I guess, 2011, they really weren't a known band at all in the U.S. They were still like the openers.
Yeah.
Whereas they were headlining arenas in the U.K.
Which just shows you the great divide in music.
Yes.
All right.
Deep.
Very. The first cut is always the deepest.
Yeah, that's not them.
Oh, yeah.
Who sang that one?
Sheryl Crow.
Oh, she did. No, that was a cover.
No.
Yeah. We'll come back to that. That'll be another episode.
All right. So I will go first on this one.
All righty.
I think on the last one, if I'm remembering correctly, you went first, so it's my turn.
Who cares?
All right. Well, I'm going first.
All righty.
Even if you tried to plead off of it, I'm going first.
So do you want to stretch a little bit? Get in the mood? Do some Freddie Mercury impersonation vocals like Matt does?
Does he?
Come on.
I did write a blog at one time where I thought Muse was the new Queen.
I rest my case.
All right.
I think I already won this review game. So
no, you didn't.
All right. Last stretches.
Oh, that was more Michael Jackson than anything else.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't know what I'm going for here.
3, 2, 1.
All right. So if the Muse were around in the 80s, this would have been their statement album. If anybody in the 80s heard this, they would have fully been playing this in all the clubs and all the discos, whatever they called it in the 80s. This is their statement. And I think because of the way that music is trending now, this is their second big statement album. This, to me, was amazing. I love this album from start to finish. I really think that they took 100% more chances than when they did Drones, because Drones to me kind of felt like it was their version of The Wall, kind of like a concept album. So this was just completely off the beaten path. I think even Stranger Things wanted, like, they could use this music in Stranger Things. There's so many things that the songs on this album could be used for, from video games to movies. Just when you hear it, it's very like, oh, I could see that being in a movie. This is still a really good song though. But the album kind of hits everywhere, but there's one area that I think it really misses is a lot of guitar work. There's not too much guitar work on here. I think Matt, his vocals being untouched is a great thing, but I think he could have put a little bit more effort into the guitar just because it's lacking. Oh, except for on one track, and I forget the name of the track off the top of my head. But if you're going into this album and you want to listen to some really good songs right off the beginning, just listen to Get Up and Fight. It's so simple, but yet it's very tastefully done. Thought Contagion, Pressure, The Dark Side, Something Human. There's only really one song that really misses in my mind because it goes back to Madness. It's Dig Down. But outside of that, this album is amazing.
So we're definitely going to have a talk after my review. But first, before we get into mine, what would your rating be? Out of 5 stars, what would you give it?
This album, for me, we're going to go with 4.5.
Wow.
Yeah. I love the Muse. And when you think about this album in the context of the Muse, they always...
Are you saying the Muse?
The Muse.
No, it's Muse.
Whatever. I'm saying the as a preface to Muse. Whatever.
Sorry. Continue. But, continue your heartfelt sentiment. They
always take chances. If you listen to the Resistance album, they're all over the board on the album. What's the one with Knights of Sidonia on it?
Black Hole.
Oh yeah.
Fun. I don't know.
Supermassive Black Hole.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that album, they do so many different things over the entirety of their career. It's never in one place. Plus, this album feels like it's complete. Because
hold on. I'm gonna stop you because you're doing another 2-minute review.
I know,
now.
but that's just how good this is.
We still have a lot because
all right.
I think you're gonna be kind of upset with me. So let me stretch a little bit. All right, tell me when to go.
All right, so let me get the old clock up here. This is what happens when I get a new stopwatch. I don't know how to use it. All right, ready?
That's like the most old-timey statement I think I've heard you ever say. Like, I got my new stopwatch. Yeah. How does this thing work?
Yeah. Switching cell phones is a pain in the ass.
You have to find out why in the next episode of Epic Footnotes. We'll go into that more.
Maybe.
Anyway.
All right, here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So, as you'll recall, 2015's Drones saw Muse try to go back to a more straightforward rock sound after experimenting with electronica and dubstep on the second law, because when you listen to it, you can kind of tell it wasn't really in their heart because they just were trying to make fans happy. With Simulation Theory, it's obvious that not only did they decide to go back to the electronica and dubstep elements that they were experimenting with before, but they really do feel much more comfortable and confident when they're in that element, when they're doing more synth pop and electronic inspired rock. And that's not really a terrible thing because a confident Muse is exciting to hear. And there's definitely a lot of confidence on this record. They're experimenting with stuff, but you can tell that there's a little bit more excitement in their voices and in their playing than on Drones. And there's even some songs that do a great job at mixing electronica influences of rock, like Algorithm, Pressure, and Blockades. And I really can't help to think that The Dark Side is actually the closest we'd ever hear to Muse collaborating with Daft Punk. And that's actually a really exciting notion to me. So there's definitely some standouts here. But in the end of the day, Matt Bellamy's vocals, I don't know what it is, but they kind of rub me off the wrong way on all of their records, not just on this one. I feel like sometimes what he does, and you can even say over the music, it just comes off as a little overdone, a little as if they're trying a little too hard to do something of this and that. And I feel like this album really is like that. And I hate to say this too, as good as some of the songs are, I listen to it a few times and I already forget a good chunk of the album. To me, it's just not memorable. When you're listening to it, it's exciting to hear Muse excited after especially doing a lackluster phoned in album. And even mediocre Muse is still more exciting than most new music out today. But ultimately, I just feel like it's the same pitfalls that Muse fall into most of the times. It's just they are trying a little too hard.
All right.
So before we start throwing things at each other, which will be really great for a podcast because you can't see it, but you'll hear it.
What do you think? How many stars?
I'm really torn between being really mean and giving it 2 stars and being nice and giving it 3 stars. I'm leaning towards 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2.5 because if I had just listened to it like literally at this very second, I'd probably be more inclined to give it 3 because it is still, and I agree, like it actually would fit perfectly for a Stranger Things soundtrack. And it is cool what they do with the electronic elements on these albums, but in the end, it's just a little bit more forgettable on the side. Upon first listen, like, oh, this is cool, but I'm not rushing to go listen to it again. So I'm probably going to end up changing my mind if you ask me a week from now. But at this very moment, 2.5 stars.
Yeah, I very much so have to disagree with you. When you listen to this album, and I was, waiting for something new from Muse because Drones was, like I said, it reminded me of their version of The Wall. Mm-hmm. And I think they tried a few things and it just didn't work so great. But coming back when I heard that they were going to do something new, I was really, really waiting for it. And then they put out, a couple songs and they put out 2 more. And then they put out 5 altogether by the time it was all said and done before the album came out. And
3 of them, sorry to interrupt, but even 3 of them were released before they even announced an album.
Right. And
which is pretty cool. Interesting.
It was really good. And I just listened to those songs over and over again. And every time I go back and I listen to them, I feel like I've heard them before. But then I remember, it's because I've listened to them so many times. I forget the name off the top of my head, which one it is. But there is a song that sounds like it could be a part of so many movies. Oh, God, I really wish I remembered the name right now. But it's such a good song. I think it's Pressure or Something Human. It might be Something Human. But it's such a good song. It's just got this very lighthearted feeling to it. But the album altogether, with what they could have done and how much they could have screwed it up by not letting Matt Bellamy's vocals just shine through, they left his vocals pretty much untouched for the entirety of the album. And when you think about how much auto-tuning there is nowadays and, what they could have done to this pop-ish album, they left this thing virtually unscathed for one of the Muse's biggest strengths is Matt Bellamy's ability to sound the way he does.
And maybe it's just simply that I get, as much as I love his voice, I also kind of hate it. Sometimes there's some songs I'm like, this is awesome.
Is it just because you don't sound like him?
No, but the thing is that like sometimes I'm like, all right, this guy is trying way too hard to sound like if Tom York from Radiohead was trying to be Freddie Mercury. And while it's impressive that he kind of accomplishes it, to me, it's just like, I'm not a Radiohead fan, so I don't really want to hear, like, it's just, I feel like it's just sometimes a little too overdone. It's just overdone. I feel like as much as we talk about Muse being so unique and innovative, to me, it's just, I only hear it sometimes in certain songs, like Hysteria or Stockholm Syndrome. Whereas, like, lately, I feel like they've just been trying a little bit too hard to be a futuristic Queen or a rock version of Radiohead. And this album didn't sway me to thinking otherwise. As much as I still enjoyed it for what it is, it didn't make me go, yes, they are the future.
And, I completely disagree, just because they have always been that band that pushes envelopes. Like, if you go all the way back to their first album, Showbiz, and there's a song on there, and it's not my favorite song, but whenever I have to say that, Muse has always pushed envelopes, there's a song on there called Muscle Museum that it's just, it makes you wonder what they were thinking when they did it. It just sounds so weird, but it's the Muse, and that's what they've always done. They've always, I would even make the argument that this album could have potentially have been a step back, going back to the Second Law, and they didn't just rest on what they did there. They took it and just exploded everything they did on there. Like you said, they sound more confident. So I don't think that the Muse, by, you say that they sound like a rock version of Radiohead or a futuristic Queen. I would have made the argument that if Freddie Mercury was still alive, this is what they would have been, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I think that's a stretch to assume that's what Queen would have been.
Well, nobody knows because it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, but
I could say Freddie Mercury could be on the moon right now, and it's a possibility.
But you know what? Out of every singer, I'd agree he would. Freddie Mercury be on the moon.
He would have went to the moon.
I don't know. I just feel like as nice as it is to hear Muse confident again, because that is when Muse is at their best, when they're confident, to me, it still was just relatively lackluster, like just not as memorable as I would have liked it to be. But you know what? None of that matters.
What matters is the times.
That's right. So, first,
Zach?
Matthew. Has anyone actually called you Matthew?
No.
I just did. Your score.
It's kind of weird.
Well, get used to it. Can I get a drum roll, please? Can you even hear it? Wait.
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear it. You were under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And your score, or time, 1 minute and 49 seconds.
Nice.
Yeah.
149
right.
even?
Well, in 15 microseconds, whatever. But
okay.
Just accept the fact you got 149.
Nice. And I will. Zach, you did not stay under 2 minutes.
What did I get?
2 minutes, 18:45.
Oof.
You went way over in your hate of this album.
Oof. I didn't hate the album. I just was like,
You gave a really wrong review and a
I
wrong
gave
star
a pretty
rating.
damn good review.
You gave a wrong star rating and a wrong review.
I'd say it's perfect, but you did win
Again,
under technicalities.
technicalities. No, I came pretty close to 2 minutes.
You did come pretty close. 11 seconds close.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, and we want to actually hear from you. In addition to hearing what you thought of this album yourself, let us know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, what albums you might want us to review, whether it's a new release, whether it's an album that's celebrating an anniversary, whether it's just an album that you think people need to hear about. Let us know on social media at Epic Footnote, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, guys. See you later.